Hello everyone, and welcome to the Scary Stories channel. Today I have a tale that will make you think twice about the old photos you find tucked away in dusty albums. It's called The Forgotten Photograph. Leo was a young man with a passion for history, which often led him to flea markets and antique shops. He loved the idea that every object had a story, a past life he could try to uncover. One sunny Saturday, while rummaging through a box of old trinkets, his eyes fell upon a small, leather-bound photo album. It was worn, the corners frayed, but it felt special. He bought it for a few dollars, eager to see the faces captured within. Back home, Leo carefully opened the album. The pages were filled with black and white portraits of a family from what looked like the early 1900s. They were stiff and serious, as was the style of the time. But as he turned the pages, he noticed something odd. In the background of several photos, almost hidden in the shadows, was a figure. It was blurry, indistinct, but it was there, a tall, slender shape with long, dark hair obscuring its face. Leo dismissed it as a trick of the light or a flaw in the old film. He continued flipping through the album until he reached the last page. There was only one photo there, and it was different from the rest. It was a picture of a young woman, beautiful, but with a look of profound sadness in her eyes. She was standing alone in a garden. Tucked behind this photo was a smaller, looser picture that must have slipped out from another sleeve. Leo pulled it out. This one was a close-up of the same sad-eyed woman, but this time she wasn't alone. Standing directly behind her with one hand on her shoulder was the same shadowy figure from the other photos. Except now, it was clearer. The figure was gaunt, unnaturally tall, and its face was a pale, featureless oval. 2 dark pits were where the eyes should have been. A chill ran down Leo's spine. It looked like something from a nightmare, not a family photo. He felt an inexplicable sense of dread, a feeling that he was looking at something he shouldn't be. He quickly put the photo back and closed the album, his heart pounding in his chest. That night, Leo had trouble sleeping. He kept seeing the image of the pale, featureless face in his mind. He dreamt of dark gardens and a cold hand on his shoulder. He woke up in a cold sweat, feeling like he wasn't alone in his apartment. He tried to tell himself it was just his imagination running wild, spurred on by an old, creepy photo. The next day he decided he had to get rid of the album. It was making him paranoid. He took it back to the same flea market, but the old man who ran the stall wasn't there. Leo left it on the table, hoping someone else would take it. He felt a sense of relief as he walked away, leaving the unsettling album behind. A few days passed and life returned to normal. Leo started to forget about the creepy photograph and the nightmares. He even laughed at himself for being so spooked. One evening, he was taking some pictures of his apartment for a design blog he followed. He snapped a few shots of his living room, his new bookshelf, and a selfie in the hallway mirror. Later that night, as he was editing the photos on his computer, he froze. He zoomed in on the selfie he had taken in the mirror. There, in the reflection, standing right behind him, was the figure. The tall, slender shape, the pale, featureless face, the 2 dark pits for eyes. It was there, in his apartment, in his reflection, and on its face for the first time was something that looked like a smile, a wide, lipless grin that stretched across its blank features. Leo screamed. He dropped his laptop and stumbled back, his eyes darting around the empty room. He was alone, but the photo on the screen told a different story. He realized with dawning horror that he hadn't left the figure at the flea market. It hadn't been tied to the album. It had followed him home. He grabbed his keys and ran out of the apartment, not daring to look back. He didn't know where he was going, only that he had to get away. He spent the night at a friend's house trying to explain what had happened. But the words sounded insane even to his own ears. His friend, concerned, suggested he was just stressed and sleep-deprived. The next morning, armed with a little more courage, Leo went back to his apartment with his friend. Everything was just as he had left it. The laptop was on the floor, the screen dark. His friend picked it up and turned it on. The photo was still there. His friend's face went pale. "What is that?" he whispered, pointing at the screen. Validation didn't bring relief, only more terror. It was real. They deleted the photo, formatted the memory card, and even performed a factory reset on his phone for good measure. They searched the entire apartment, but there was nothing out of the place. Still, the feeling of being watched was overwhelming. Leo couldn't stay there. He packed a bag and decided to move back in with his parents for a while. As he was leaving, he took one last look around his apartment. He felt a strange compulsion to take one more photo, to see if it was really gone. He resisted the urge, terrified of what he might find. For weeks, Leo was haunted. Every reflection seemed to hold a flicker of movement in the corner of his eye. Every shadow seemed a little too long, a little too dark. He avoided cameras and mirrors. He explained the situation to his parents, who were worried, but tried to be supportive. They suggested he see a therapist, thinking the stress had finally gotten to him. One day, his mom was cleaning out some old boxes in the attic. "Leo, come look at this," she called down. "I found your old childhood photos." Reluctantly, Leo went upstairs. His mom was smiling, holding a dusty album. "Remember this one?" she said, pointing to a picture of a 5-year-old Leo at his birthday party, grinning with a mouth full of cake. Leo smiled, a genuine smile for the first time in weeks. It was a happy memory. He took the album from her and started flipping through the pages, a wave of nostalgia washing over him. He saw pictures of family vacations, school plays, and lazy summer afternoons. Then he stopped. His blood ran cold. It was a photo of him, about 10 years old, playing in his backyard. He was climbing a tree, looking triumphantly at the camera, and in the background, partially hidden by the leaves of another tree, was a familiar shape. Tall and slender, it was blurry, indistinct, just like in the first few photos from the antique album. He frantically flipped through the rest of his childhood album, and there it was, again and again, a barely there figure in the background of a family portrait, a shadow in the doorway during a Christmas morning, a pale face in the crowd at his high school graduation. It had always been there. The forgotten photograph from the flea market hadn't introduced something new into his life. It had only reminded him of what was already there, lurking in the corners, hiding in the shadows of his memories. He wasn't being followed. He was being haunted, and he had been his entire life. He just never noticed, until now. Now he sees it everywhere, not just in photos, but in the reflection of a shop window, in the face of a stranger in a crowd, in the darkness of his own room at night. He knows it's waiting. He doesn't know what it wants, but he knows that one day it will step out of the background, and he will finally see its featureless face up close, no camera needed. And he is terrified of that day. So the next time you find an old photo, take a closer look at the background. Look into the shadows. You might be surprised at who or what has been watching you all along. Thanks for listening to this story on the Scary Stories channel. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chilling tale. Stay safe and always check your photos.